You guys ready? Okay, basically noon, we'll call this meeting to order. As all Eden was gonna say pledge of allegiance, so need a motion to approve the agenda first.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Make a motion,
motion. Someone.
second that, all that in favor? Aye, okay, let's say pledge of allegiance again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this over. I'm just gonna make, say the same thing I said last year. A couple of years ago, we had wild differences in the percentages of what everybody for different offices. And last year, we talked about, I'd like to see it be the same. I don't, whatever it is, if we keep it the same, then we can adjust things the same. And that's all I have to say. That's what we talked about last year. If you can make them all in line, it makes our job easier still. And makes it maybe more fair. So at that, I need to turn it over to whoever's gonna run this meeting. Yeah, you did a good job last year. That's right.
Do we need to do a motion for that? Okay. So I'm going to, I move that we appoint Dan Elmer as chair. I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That was easy. Yeah, all right. Dan, you'll need a secretary. Yes.
Would anybody like to be the secretary, please? I will accept nominations.
That Dan?
I'm not making that question.
You can nominate somebody else if you want. Thank you.
One nominee.
Alan Armstrong for secretary. Motion,
Yeah,
Beth Ann seconds. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, we have a secretary. We have a chair. I'll lead with my office and just kind of give a little backstory. I am representing the recorder's office. I think everybody should have the opportunity, hopefully, to communicate kind of what we're thinking, if they so choose. And then once we kind of get through that process, we will entertain any motions. And we'll move forward with the committee suggestions from there based upon those motions. Obviously, the recorder's office, you've gotten your letters. Everybody's seen those. Very important part of our county structure. Everything that happens and needs to be filed in a recorded document. There's a number of transactions that obviously go through the county on an annual basis. They do an excellent job there. Put a lot of time in, put a lot of effort in, obviously, and I think it's one of the most important jobs in our building here. Ancillary things that are provided. I don't know if anybody's had to give a passport lately. I don't know if you had to do that process before. Not when we offered those services. It's a pain. Now that we do offer those services, it is something that is greatly appreciated amongst the folks in the county, in the area. I can speak for myself, getting my first one not from that office and renewing my second one. Process is much better. And it does provide a little revenue stream for the county and for the office to offset. So I think those are important parts of what our office does, and they do a great job with that. So I don't know if anybody wants to speak for their respected offices outside of the letters, that is.
I'm just gonna say, Beth Ann, you guys have something you want to say to the supervisors?
yeah, sure.
The supervisors do not feel the need for a raise for their compensation.
But John, I speak on behalf of the workers.
Take it this is on. I apologize with the acoustics in here. I'm having a hard time understanding what everybody's saying, but as to Yes,
Turn your phones off.
sorry for that. As regards our county attorney's office, I've known Carl pretty much since he got here, and I've known Jim for quite a while. Perused his record racks when his mom sold his house, or her house. Anyway, these guys have tremendous responsibility in this county. If you look through it and realize that in a county of this size, they're dealing with basically three different police forces, the sheriffs and Shenandoah and Clarinda. A lot of cases go through their doors. I think they do an outstanding job considering some of the other issues that the county has dealing with CCF and some other issues that these southern counties had to deal with. I think they're doing a fantastic job. And as we get further here, I'm going to put forth what I feel we ought to talk about raises with them. Thank you.
Good, Terry. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, Terry Carlson here, represent the Sheriff's Department. As y'all know, it's a very important part of the community here. I would like to see Lyle get like a $10,000 pay increase, and then whatever we decide on for a percentage.
I'm Tom Hanna with Beth Ann representing the supervisors. And they have indicated to me that they do not want to raise. And I respect that. And I also commend you for the hot seats that you sit on. But thank you for what you do for the county.
I am here on behalf of the Page County Treasurer, Angie Dow. I want to give a quick overview of the office and the responsibilities of Angie and her office. The amount of money that flows in and out of the treasurer's office is over $20 million annually. Angie is held accountable to be in balance every day. Monies received are apportioned monthly to the appropriate tax authorities. Motor vehicle departments and driver's license fees are balanced and submitted to the state of Iowa. She gets bids on CD investments from banks to get her highest return possible for the county. Angie is held to a high standard with the Iowa DOT, and she ensures that her office adheres to the Code of Iowa on all duties. She and her office inspect documents for authenticity, analyzes affidavits, trusts, and other legal documents. She watches for fraud and reports it if suspect. There are many challenging and stressful situations in the treasurer's office. Telling someone they can no longer have a driver's license, informing a homeowner they have lost rights to their property due to unpaid taxes, requiring a deceased spouse to be removed from a title are all tough and emotional parts of this position. The 2023 tax collection season was really challenging as taxpayers saw a large increase in amount due. She spent many hours emphasizing and explaining how taxes work, helping people understand individual tax statements. Angie's workday often reaches outside of courthouse hours. Residents reach out in public at grocery stores, restaurants, school events, and through social media outlets. Customers contact her through friends and family, family members. She doesn't stop being the Page County Treasurer at 4:30 or on the weekend. Angie tracks her vacation and sick time as though she is a salaried employee. As an elected official, there are minimal requirements on how often you are physically in the office. She does not take advantage of this perk. None of these listed duties are taken lightly and are only a small glimpse of things that happen in the treasurer's office. All these situations can happen on any given day in the office, not just one time a year. For these reasons, I am asking for Angie to receive $2,500 in addition to any percentage increase recommended by the compensation board.
I'm Alan Armstrong, speaking on behalf of the Auditor's Department. Basically, we all know the important role the auditor does as far as with elections, also the work she does within the board room with duties of the supervisors, some of those duties, accruals, budget. You know, the biggest concern I have with everybody is, I really like the idea myself, being a past board member, of getting back on direction of a flat raise, whether it be the same for everybody that are elected officials. If one group decides not to accept a raise, that's perfectly okay. But I feel that we should get back to trying to level things out as much as we can in the future. At this time, I'm going to just present a motion. I make a motion for the sheriff, attorney, auditor with her budgeting and accruals work, treasurer and recorder to receive a 9% increase in salary, and for the board of supervisors to receive a 0%.
We have a motion on the floor. We have a motion on,
Do you want to repeat that?
everybody gets 9%.
Basically, everybody is at 9% except
The additional amounts too, right?
no, this would just be a flat 9% raise. The only part that would not would be the board of supervisors to receive a 0% raise. So,
That's what I was asking, because don't you have an additional stipend? Yeah, that includes the stipend.
Yeah.
It includes the stipend.
Yeah.
Where's stipend? That was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
and just to preface this, I know that in the last 2 years, the employees have been a lot less than the cost of living was. This year, yes, this is much higher than the cost of living. But back in 22, I believe the final raise ended up being 9, 3.5 and 3, 9 for the sheriff and 3% for the auditor, or 3.5 for the auditor and 3 for Carl, and then 3 for everybody else. Last year in 23, it ended up being 3.85 for everybody. And I'm not sure what the cost of living was last year, but it was still much higher than that. So,
Supervisors get a raise this year.
yes, no, I don't know if they, I don't know.
Lowered our pay.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what theirs ended up being.
It was minus 3% last year for the supervisor.
3.
I will add a little bit to the COLA adjustments right now. You are correct. They have come down. I think last time I saw it was just right around 3%, give or take a little bit, which is, kind of a historical norm. That's the Fed's actually targeting 2.5%, 3% is where they're not like that long-term inflationary number to be. Last year, we're looking in that, 10% somewhere, and that number is a pretty rough number. I think more than anything from my daily job, what I see right now is we have seen, a large influx of cash given to businesses, people, everybody the past 2 or 3 years, which I think has absorbed some of the out of pocket feeling. But unfortunately, I think a lot of that's starting to run out. And I think that we're really going to start feeling the inflationary pressures, more so because everybody prior to had, a savings account that was provided. They used their savings. Well, savings is out. We're seeing nationwide credit card balances rise to the highest levels that we've seen in years. I understand the 3% raises over the years, and I understand that we have a budget to adhere to. I understand that we have a certain amount of income that comes in, and then obviously we have income that comes out. But I do think more so than probably any year, this might be the year to be at least above cost of living. More so from the fact that I do feel like people are starting to really feel it. I've had more folks I've talked to lately that are commenting on how high price groceries are, or how expensive everything is. I would say 6 months ago, I didn't hear that much. It's not that they weren't expensive, but they had cash reserves, they had savings, and I think some of those things are starting to certainly run out right now. So more so than anything, I just, want to speak to some of the economic factors, and I'm sure everybody's well aware of that. We all feel it. We know that it's there, but, if we can find some sort of way to, help these folks out, because they're the backbone for our county, to be true. So, anyway, sorry. We do have a motion on the floor, if anybody would like to second.
No, yeah, will you say it one more time?
I make a motion for the sheriff, attorney, auditor with her budgeting and accruals work, treasurer and recorder to receive a 9% increase in salary, and for the board of supervisors to receive a 0% increase.
And the percentage is on the stipends as well.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, with no motion on the floor, or no second, that motion will not pass, or be taken to a vote, I guess. Any other motions? What? I think we're waiting for some people that are communicating, doing some fuzzy math back here.
How dare you?
It's not fuzzy.
It's always fuzzy.
I'm going to make a motion for a 3.5% cost of living raise and a plus a 4% above that for a total of a 7.5% raise for all the offices involved today.
Including those, including supervisors.
I apologize, with the exception of the supervisors who requested 0%, and that would not be on the stipends.
No, nothing on the site.
We have a motion on the floor.
So the raise will actually be just a straight 7.5% raise. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor, we'll probably just say aye and start with that. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay.
One thing I'd like to add, and I've had conversations, and this is gonna fall on my second year of doing this. Communicating with some folks around here, and I've obviously using the information, the history that I have of being 1 year. There was a discussion amongst some folks of, and again, I wasn't involved in these times, but prior to, we would have the counties communicate, leaders from each office communicate. I personally like having that. Now, if somebody is not comfortable with that, they can designate somebody to help them with that, whether it be the representative, whether it be personally, rather than having a letter just sent to everybody. I think some of that gets lost in translation of the number of important things that happen within every office. What is there, 7 offices times, you're looking at 30 pages of reading. And I think that can probably get dulled a little bit at times. It was suggested to me that in the past that those folks would come up and speak, and then the committee would then come together, and for lack of better terms, in somewhat of a closed session, to have discussions, essentially like we did right here. Kind of, it's that uncomfortableness of, trying to come up to whatever is a good number. I think we all had numbers in our minds. I think some of us were higher, some of us were lower. Ultimately, the number we came up with, I think, was probably in the wheelhouse of what everybody had thought and would be acceptable with. But I don't know if the supervisors would be open to that potentially for next year. If we have a session, and I'm just opening it up, and like I said, you can say, no, we don't want to do it that way. We can discuss it next year prior to the meeting and say, hey, here's what we'd like to do. Give us 15 minutes for our groups to get together to come up with some sort of number. Because what I'm hearing from you and what I'm hearing from everybody is we want one number. We'd like everybody to be all the same and it'd all be great and fine and dandy, which I agree with. But the challenge with that is we all have different jobs, we all have different lives, we all have these different things. And trying to get everybody together to have a good discussion and consensus it's hard. And I would suggest that next year that maybe we have some sort of time allotted for the committee to break into a subcommittee. I have no issues with if we break to a subcommittee and then come back and then we want to have more discussion. I'm fine with that. The idea is not necessarily to leave the supervisors out. The idea is to gain consensus amongst the office to get you kind of what you're asking. And not have the uncomfortable of I'm looking around here and, hey, John, will you maybe put a motion in? And, oh, Alan, what are we, those types of things. I think we can make the process a lot smoother.
I agree.
Wasn't that the original format?
Originally, we used to meet with all of the elected officials and the comp board. And we would go around the table and each individual office holder would speak. The elected officials would then speak to the comp board and then the elected officials would then leave. And the comp board would be left to make a decision and then they would bring that to the auditor so that she would know what was going on. So I understand how it makes it very uncomfortable for you. And I personally want to say, I know what every office does. And we have fantastic elected officials and I appreciate everything that they do. And I wish we could give you the sky, but unfortunately, in this day and age, we can't do that, so.
Appreciate that.
I know everybody would make more in the private sector, probably doing what you do. But we appreciate you staying with the county.
That's something we can make a decision on today before next year's meeting.
Is there,
Because we talked
yeah,
about this
yeah.
next year.
Is there,
I want to thank everybody for coming here. As hopefully all of you know, if you don't, I don't know where you've been for the last 4 years, but this is my last comp board. I won't be doing this again. Don't say, there's people that are like, woohoo, no more sheriff getting up there talking. So I figured I'd get one more in. And I agree with what Dan said. It used to be a lot more comfortable when the elected officials would meet, explain to the others what we'd done, whether you write a letter or whether you talk. And I know some of the elected officials didn't feel comfortable talking. So that's why we've done some of this. But quite frankly, it's not up to anybody but the comp board, according to the Iowa code, as to what they decide. So if they would want to go into a closed session, I don't believe it's a violation of the open meetings law to do that if they would want to sit down and go over things. And I think it gives them, each of our representatives, a chance to discuss something without being out in this open. I mean, for years, we met in the back room of Bonds and we ate breakfast and out the door we went.
Yeah.
We got on with our day. They got to go on with what they wanted to after the comp board and we went from there.
my very first year as supervisor, that's the way it was. You guys all disappeared. We sat around and talked, made the decision. And
We stopped that because elected officials were going back in.
yeah, and that's it.
I mean.
Yeah. Board members.
I don't think there's anything that stops the group from meeting with the electeds, having a chat, and the electeds leave. I don't think the comp board can go into a closed session. I'd have to double check that, but I don't think there's any authority that allows them under 21 to go into close.
I would say it would be more of just if we decide as a group to open the meeting, have everybody speak that wants to as elected officials, and then we just ask them to step out of the room for a while. I'm not sure if I think that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. Just going into.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It muddies the water.
Yeah. Yeah, and we could even meet with the elected officials at 11 before the board comes in and opens the meeting, and then we could have a half an hour of listening, and then half an hour of discussion, and then go into the meeting.
One question to that is, we're all elected officials too, with
Right.
representatives, so we would sit there the same as the other electeds.
Yes.
Yeah, then you go into the
Yes.
board meeting. I don't know how to do that though.
But then you would leave.
We just.
Then
We would leave.
The elected people.
All the elected officials would leave.
Then,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
So once again, all I wanted to say was thank you. I want to thank everybody for your time. Good luck with the rest of the year.
Okay,
The issue we had this morning in Perry, Iowa. So if those of you who don't know what happened, we had a active school shooter over there. And keep that in your cars and your bike. Hope everything turns out. It's something we learn from every day, something everybody deals with, and it doesn't matter if it's in a school or a courthouse or wherever, maybe in a bank, in anywhere. Something that we have to deal with in this day and age, so as elected officials, no matter where our office is at, we have to be prepared.
Dan, before we disperse, I do want to revisit the stipends. We have approximately 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 employees or one elected that are or actually two elected that are receiving extra money. Board of Supervisors Chair receives 500. Corey Klein, Safety, receives 500 extra. Charles McCullough, $4,628. Tony Shackelford in IT gets 1,600. Darla McCall gets 4,628 in the GIS service she provides. Kim Behrens and Lisa Nelson receive 250 each for their co-chair wellness. And Melissa Wellhausen receives $4,171 for accruals, something that she is paid extra to do. The first 7 that I read before Melissa, those are all decided by the Board of Supervisors. They do that during their budgetary times. Melissa's, the accruals, it saves approximately about $6,000 to $10,000 a year by having her do those versus having somebody from within the Secretary of State's office, State Auditor's office, I'm sorry, not Secretary of State, but State Auditor's office doing that. So it saves us anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 a year above what she would get paid. So at this time, I will make a motion for the auditor to receive the same percent increase for her accruals work and her budgeting work that she does along with that accruals work at the 7.5%.
We have a motion on the floor for the 7.5% increase to include the extra auditor duties. Do I have a second?
Just as a reminder, if she doesn't do it, then that will cost the county through the regular business about an extra $6,000 to $10,000 a year by the State Auditor's Office.
I'll second.
Who was that? Terry? Okay.
We have a second on that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, why don't we do just a quick raise of hands roll call so we know where we're at, those voting support? 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be a majority. Motion passes. Yes. Yes, so now that we've gotten through those items, and I had a chance to think about that, would the auditors be willing to entertain an adjusted schedule next year, based upon, and we can, I guess, we've said maybe 10 o'clock have a formal time to have, each office talk to the comp board, maybe at 10 o'clock, 10:30, comp board then, gets together and, discusses, a group compensation plan for the group. And then 11 o'clock, obviously, that we can present to the board of supervisors and hopefully have a very quick and, informal meeting of here's where we are, motion, move and go.
Carl, sorry, Carl. If the board, all three board members come, they're gonna have to be in session. So that would be something the board would have to basically agree not to come to the first part, then correct?
Well, the first part, we can be here, but then we leave while you discuss.
Go into recess.
Because if they're
We
all
recess.
Their official capacity, it has to be a board meeting.
Well, can they come in individually? And will all of the elected officials present in the presence of each other, or will they come in one at a time?
That's,
That's a good point.
Excellent.
Because if they all do this one at a
Yeah,
time,
10
they
minutes.
just get to make their case, leave, then that way you're not in session.
To, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we allowed an hour for all 8, give them each 7 minutes.
I think that's fine.
And we could set a time schedule and say you're gonna be here at this time. If you're not here, you don't come. And I can send that letter out, or we'll, yeah, we can't have 3 of you at once. You can't go walk in the hallway or make secret. Yep.
So 10 o'clock presentation, 11 o'clock review, 12 o'clock meeting. Each
Or,
person would come in individually starting at 10 o'clock with the. I would say that they don't necessarily need to prepare and send us material in advance, because like they're gonna come prepared to
Yeah,
speak, because
yeah.
that's part of the meeting. Unless you want to do a homework, works. But it's not like trying to do a homework assignment to someone when they're gonna come present anyway.
For me, it's easier to send a letter than stand up and talk.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine,
fine.
that's fine.
and
That's fine.
you can,
And if you want your representative to speak on behalf of you, that's perfectly fine. Or if you wanted,
This, if you stand me there, I'll be
that's good, because we won't need Zoom for you guys, because we won't be having a live meeting until 12 o'clock.
So the elected officials may present, or they may have the representative present on behalf of them, right?
At 10 o'clock.
Okay, cool.
And we'll try to schedule 7 to 10 minutes so we can get everybody in, speak, so, okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
it still has to be in a public setting though, correct?
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
yeah, we'll do
So
it.
if somebody, like KMA wants to come or somebody wants to
Yeah,
come, they
so
can
they
still do
can
that.
walk in and join.
would supervisors object to that, or are we good with that plan?
I think it's
Okay.
all right.
Okay, great. So with that, I will entertain a motion to close the compensation committee meeting. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are closed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. for
Thank you
doing
very
that.
much.
Everybody doing their job with the comp board. So we can adjourn our meeting now. Are we good to
I
adjourn?
move we adjourn.
Judy made a motion to adjourn, Todd seconded. Thank you. Nope. Oh, yeah, we're going to a road trip. We're not adjourning, that's correct. So we'll back up that motion.
Sorry,
Uh,
not half yet.
we gotta go. We're gonna go, the board's gonna go into a road tour with Chris. That's right. So we're gonna go on a road tour and we'll adjourn after that.